Aquaba returnees, this is Adrienne Essie Cook, and this is the returnees. Today we have a special guest, Rich Hackman. Rich lives here in New York, but was born in Ghana. He was born in...
I was born in Accra, actually.
He's born in Accra.
Yeah.
And he and I have been talking, and he just shared with me that he's from Ghana and had planned to move back to Ghana for at least 6 months, a year. So we started talking. I would like for him to share some thoughts and ideas for returnees and suggestions. So, Rich, can you tell us about yourself and what are your plans on returning?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, as we said before, I'm from Accra. My parents are locally from Cape Coast and from Salt Pond, so we're Fanti. But, very early on in the 90s, our family immigrated to New York City because my mom worked for the foreign ministry in Ghana, actually, and that brought us over here. And, just by virtue of circumstance, I've continued my education and now my work here in the U.S. But, it's interesting. I've always considered the fact that Ghana is my home, and I always want to go back there. I always want to have a foot there and a presence there. I think it's important. I think especially now that I have a son, it's going to be very important to introduce him to the culture and have him know that that's where he comes from, especially when you consider all the issues that are going on in America right now. So for people like myself or people who want to return back to Ghana or immigrate to Ghana, I think, it's absolutely the right time. It's to start thinking about it, to start doing it. But also I think there are things you have to consider in doing that. Ghana, the people who are there, Ghanaians, are very proud and also very asserted in their culture and in the work they do. And it can be very difficult for someone new to coming into the society to, find a place for themselves. So the best way to do that is just to work with people locally, find a way to partner with people locally, because, they're also, they don't have the resources that we have here in the US, so they're looking for ways to uplift themselves out of certain circumstances, to build infrastructure, to have better access to things. And so, you may not think of yourself as having all that capability to assist in that way, but you probably do, just by virtue of having lived in the US and learning and being exposed to things. So, don't take for granted what what you can bring to the table. And also know that the people in Ghana are very welcoming, loving, and receptive. And there's a harmony there that is natural, of brotherhood, kinship, sisterhood, kinship. We all want to help each other. And so, keep that in mind on your way there. But also know that, there are situations that require a little bit of patience because, we have poor electricity still, we have poor water supply still in certain areas. And so these are all things that require a lot of patience and just finesse and understanding how best to work with locals, how best to work with the infrastructure in order to just, find a quality of life that is different from what you would have here in the US. It's a little bit slower, it's a little bit more relaxed. And that sort of thing is very hard, a very hard adjustment, even for people like me who come from both worlds. So that's just a little tidbit that I might offer right at the start.
Do you have any suggestions where returnees should look for property? Should they buy a house? Should they buy an apartment? Should they wait and rent for 6 months?
Yeah, it's I don't think I'm the chief or the expert on this, but what I do know is that owning property in Ghana can be a little bit tricky. From my personal experience and my family's experience, thankfully, we purchased land there many years ago, and so we were able to build our own house. Now, it took 25 years just because, sometimes you have issues with construction and contractors and things like that, and living abroad, all these things add to the complexity of being able to have property and own property there. So now there are some more efficient solutions, ready-made properties where you can rent or you can buy for a certain amount of time. But, if you're really planning on immigrating back there, I think there's something worth looking into in terms of talking to the local officials, There are different systems whereby maybe you need to approach a chief and talk to them about purchasing land from the municipality, from the people there, to be able to build up on. And always having your own property, there's a sense of pride and a sense of belonging in having that and being a part of the community that way. Versus a lot of the newer developments that are coming around, honestly, a lot of them are super expensive, even by Western standards. And part of me doesn't feel comfortable giving my money to that when it could be used, giving it to local community and establishing a base in that community.
Well, especially with the land situation, you can buy a plot of land, and several other people own that land also.
Well, that's true.
That's a little bit scary.
True.
What's your thought on that?
Well, I mean, that's why it's very important to go to the source, who owns the land, right? And sometimes that can be very tricky to understand. And, talking to the right people can be a little bit confusing sometimes, and not knowing who the right people are, because sometimes there are the elected officials who run that community, but then there are also the local chiefs and the sort of hierarchy in that system. And it's a little bit of both. I don't have the full answer to that, and I haven't personally done that myself. I just know from when my parents were going about getting their property. We actually got 3 properties, so just to tell you a little bit of our situation, we got 3 properties way back in the day. And when we came back to Ghana after many years of being abroad, we only had 1 property left because people had encroached upon the other 2 properties, and there was just no way to get that back. No ownership, no paperwork, because the system wasn't built to the point where it supported that at the time. So unfortunately, we had to lose that. And that stuff kind of happens, and you just have to be very conscious of it. So sometimes it might be worthwhile to invest in having a manager or somebody that you trust on the ground in Ghana looking after your property, and also somebody who has the know-how and the connections to talk to the right people in the community to really determine, is this land available? Who's the right person to purchase it from? And how do I properly document that and make sure that it's in my name and nobody else can encroach upon it?
Okay. Well, traditionally the returnees who came over earlier were retirees. They have their pension, they have Social Security, and now we have the young people coming over. What is your suggestion for them to survive?
Wow. I think there's a lot of opportunity for young people, and I put myself in that bucket because there's a lot of investment opportunities, and I think that's probably a good place to start. Not to say that money is the solution to everything, but again, you want to form good networks of people who are already doing good work there. So do your research. There's lots of resources online. You can look to what people are doing in Ghana. Even on social media, there's a lot of activity now in Ghana, on Twitter and on Instagram, even YouTube videos like this one. You just watch all that stuff, reach out to the people who are producing this stuff, get their insight and their intel, but really forming a connection with people who are already established on the ground, who've done the hard work of figuring out who the right people to talk to are, where the right places are to go to establish certain things that you need. Those are all worthwhile. We are people that are highly based in mouth to mouth, and it's all about who you know. Otherwise, you're going in there and people might think, oh, well, this entitled person from abroad is coming to take over XYZ. You don't want that, right? So just do your homework, form the connections with the right people, and then, ask about how you can help. I think that's always going to give you a foot in the door anywhere you go. People always want human resource, intelligent people who know how to get things done, because that's our primary issue. Is we have these great ideas, we want to start doing stuff, we want to build infrastructure, we want to build community, but it never gets done, it never gets finished. It's always in progress, and there's a lot of money that keeps getting thrown at it, and people get frustrated and then they leave, right? So we don't want that. So just take a second and do your homework. Okay. Madasi, any last words for the returnees? Ghana is an amazing place. I mean, any of the African countries would be great, but You know, I'm a little biased. Ghana is an amazing place. It's called the Gateway to Africa for a reason. We're friendly. We love having people come in and help us out and just appreciate the culture, and tell everyone about it. You know, it's an opportunity for us to bring awareness to the continent, to the country, to the people, and to change the narrative about the media that is put out there about who we are and how we live. You know, I made it my life's work and mission that whenever I can talk about Ghana, I certainly will, because people see me, the automatic assumption is, oh, you're African American, or like the way you speak, you don't speak like an African person. The way you don't look like an African person. And the moment that I switch that perception for them, it's that their interest in Ghana and the continent remarkably changes, and they want to tell everybody else, and they want to visit, and all of those things. So, you know, be that person for other people.
Okay, Madasi.